Well, I had done a pilot movie at 20th. The Perry Mason people were looking for a show to come back with now that Raymond Burr was ceasing Perry Mason. They came up with this thing starring Jim Hutton, and I was cast as a police chief. Wally Grauman was directing, and he kept looking for funny stuff to do. And I turned him into a comedic police chief. Doug Selby, DA. Mm-hmm. And Grant Tinker, I believe, was an executive at 20th at the time. And he was seeing the dailies, so he had already acquired Jim Brooks and Alan Burns to prepare the pilot for Mary, or whatever they used, and recommended me to them for Lou Grant. They didn't know my work, but they then turned and asked Ethel Wynant, can at Asner do comedy? Mm-hmm. She was vice president of casting at CBS, and she very sweetly and beautifully and eternally gratefully from me said Ed Asner can do anything. So they sought me out, and I read, and I avoided comedy because I was always worried, how would I repeat the laugh? I didn't know how. So stay away from it. It's not going to do me any good anyway. So I read for them, and when I finished, Jim Brooks said, well, that was a very intelligent reading. Well, when we have you back to read with Mary, we want you to read Wiggy, Crazy, All Stops Out. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And so I was dismissed, and I started to leave, and I said, well, listen, why don't you have me read it that way now, and if I don't pull it off, don't have me back. Now, I have never made such mind, soul-shaking statements such as that in my life. I've always crawled in for jobs and generally crawled out. They said, well, we do have another appointment, but, all right. So I read it like a total nutcase, and made some laughs on their part, and then turned to I did it like a Meshuggah, crazy, nuttily. They laughed like hell. They said, read it just like that when you come back to read with Mary. So what did I do? I mean, I did just like what? So before I came back to read with Mary, I looked at it and I said, just tried to remember all the nutty things I did, and wanted to repeat them. I did as best I could. And then I found out years later when I left, Mary turned to them and said, are you sure? And the response was, that's your Lou Grant. So I guess they wanted to see how much of a jerk I was willing to make myself look like, and take direction and respond. And they got enough to satisfy themselves. They had a number of people. Gavin MacLeod was in to see them just before me, and he told them he was wrong for the role, and suggested why couldn't he read for the role of Murray, stuff like that.